Question of the Week from the Naked Scientists.
Hello and welcome to Question of the Week. I'm Rowan Barkley. Today's question comes in from Ian.
This is Ian Sharp of Newcastle upon Tyne, and I have a quantum question. Can you tell me, please, do recent quantum experiments suggest that the Copenhagen, the multiverse, or another interpretation of quantum mechanics is correct? Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Quantum mechanics, or quantum physics, is the branch of physics that describes the behavior of matter and energy at the smallest scales, atoms and subatomic particles, like electrons. Interpretations of quantum mechanics are the big picture takeaways from the things it theoretically tells us. Dr. Maria Villaris joins us today. She is a quantum research scientist, science communicator, and content creator on her YouTube channel.
Superposition is one of the really fundamental and interesting phenomena. So that's this phenomenon that a system described by quantum mechanics can be in two states at the same time. What happens when you observe a system is that you just see one of those states. So you collapse the superposition. That's the terminology that we use. The other one that I'd highlight is entanglement. Let's say you've got two people, one's called Alice and she's got one of these particles. The other person is called Bob and he's got another one of these particles. If Alice and Bob each individually take measurements of their particle, they can get correlations between their measurements that are much stronger than anything that you can get with classical physics. It's much more powerful than, say, how a pair of socks is correlated when you move them far apart.
Interpretations of quantum mechanics are the theories of what these phenomena mean for reality.
So what happens in the Schrödinger's cat thought experiment, you've got a cat that is in a superposition of being dead and alive, but then when you observe it, when you open the box which has this cat inside, you just see it dead or you just see it alive. You only see a single state. How did that collapse actually happen? I think it's most useful to divide them into two categories. One theory which says that when you observe the cat, it kind of irreversibly collapses into just one state, like dead or alive. That's kind of known as this Copenhagen interpretation. And the other set of interpretations is the idea that the measurement of the cat or the measurement of a superposition is actually a reversible process. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics says that because you're applying quantum mechanics to the observer that looks at the cat as well, the observer is actually joining in that superposition, and the observer has one version of themselves that sees the cat dead and one version that sees the cat alive. Really, these are kind of two categories of entire families of interpretations.
What about the recent experiments or advances that Ian is referring to in this question?
I know lots of people were asking something similar recently when the kind of Google Willow chip was announced. It essentially showed that something called quantum error correction is possible. And they showed that you can do certain computations on this chip that would take longer than the age of the universe to do on a classical computer. If you've done a computation on this chip that would have taken a kind of classical computer kind of longer than the age of the universe, even if it was using all the atoms in the universe, then, physically, where did this computation take place? Like, what was physically kind of doing it? As a response, you could say, well, this shows that the multiverse interpretation is true because, as opposed to an interpretation where there's a collapse into a single world, or there's not actually these different versions of reality don't actually exist, you kind of say, well, they must exist because otherwise, where did that power come from? Where was it happening? I think that the progress in our interpretations and in physics is never finished. So I don't really see a kind of final true interpretation as coming out, because I think that there's a theory beyond quantum theory that we're going to discover at some point, and that might change our conception of the world again.
So, Ian, recent quantum experiments and discoveries do not lead us to a definitive, correct interpretation. But recent advances in computing power could be an argument for the many worlds or multiverse interpretation. Thanks for sending that one in. Next time on Question of the Week, we're responding to this.
I am Maddie, I'm 8 years old, and I would like to know what would happen if you go to the core of one of the big gas giants. Thank you.
Question of the Week is part of the Naked Scientists podcast. Look us up online at nakedscientists.com.